Hello, parents and students. Hope you're doing well. So we're going to continue with looking at geometry and points and lines and origins. And there is a worksheet in there that describes all the geometric terms, notations, and diagrams for those. There's 3 columns. Each of those columns mean the same thing. And they're just a way of explaining what we're trying to communicate when we're using math. The students have already learned more than half of them. There'll be a couple of them that they'll see if we have time later on this year. If not, then at least they have a sheet of all the geometric terms that they'll be seeing well through middle school and into high school. So this is a handy sheet to keep around. And all they have to do is copy from one sheet to another sheet. And some of the terms are recognized, and the ones they don't, if we have time at the remaining of the year to get to them, we will. So on this page, we have, again, 3 column. This is called a table because it's enclosed. But we have a table here that has 3 things that are the same. We have the description. We have what's called the math notation, and we're familiar with some of these, but not all of them, but I think you'd be surprised about how many of these you already know now. And then we have the diagram over here, or the model, the drawing that we've been using. So if you look here, like for lines, we've already drawn a line. This is kind of like a horizontal line, and we've already put points on our line. Okay, we could name this point A and this point B. Remember, capital letters, and you can name them whatever you like. You don't have to name A and B. You can be C, D. A lot of times we keep our letters like the alphabet. We don't start with like X and Y usually. But we already know this math notation, this line. Here's our notation for angle, obtuse and acute angle. And we know that here's our acute angle, here's our obtuse angle, and we need 3 points to identify those angles. A, B, C here. Parallel lines we haven't covered, okay, but this is what parallel lines look like, and this is notation for parallel lines. Intersections, or intersecting lines, okay, so here's perpendicular down here. These two, this ray and this line intersect at this point. We call that the origin. Here's another origin here, but we have 2 lines going through it. And if you practice the video before this, you probably get the idea that the origin is somewhere where all the lines leave from and the angles go from and all that stuff. So it's also called an intersecting point. So an intersecting point can be an origin, or sometimes it isn't. But in this case, it's an origin because it's in the center of these 2 lines where they meet. We could draw another line off of here, and this wouldn't be the origin then. Points, most easiest thing. Now, these points aren't named, so they're, just like these points up here, we'd have to name these, and we can connect them, or we could draw something off from these points. We would have to name them, though. At some point, we'd have to name them if we wanted to identify them. Here we have our ray, which is a point on this side and an arrow on this side. And again, you need 2 points to identify your ray. Straight angle. Okay, it's still an angle here. Remember, this angle and this angle don't change. But here's our straight angle. And this looks kind of odd, I know. But if you remember when we used our protractor and we had a half a circle, how many degrees was half of a circle? From 0 over here all the way over to here. How many degrees was half a circle? If you said 180, you're correct. So this is 180 degrees of a point over here to a point over here if we were to measure it with a protractor. This is a little bit crazy, but you'll see that. That'll come up. A line segment, we haven't done this one. This is 2 points, so there's not an arrow on either end. There's just 2 points on either end, and that means this line is defined as a certain length. It doesn't go on forever. We could put, if we put an arrow on the end of here, another line and an arrow on it, this would not be a segment anymore. It'd be a line with 2 points. But this one has a point here and a point here. So we call this point A and point B here, right? But this is just a piece of a line. We can't put anything out here other than just a random point anywhere. But if we put a point out here, this line would have to go through that point, and then maybe we'd have another line again. But this is just this part of a line that we're talking about. Perpendicular, we talked about that. Here's our little 90-degree angle. It's down here too, our right angle. So this is the thing that we've been working a lot with. So we have two lines that are perpendicular. We have a line here that's perpendicular, and we have a line, a ray, that's perpendicular here. This isn't exactly correct, but you get the idea. This is our 0, this is our 90, this is our 180, and we have our acute angles over here, and we have our obtuse angles over here. But these two lines intersecting at this point at a 90 degrees is also called perpendicular line. So this we're kind of familiar with. And our right angle we're familiar with. Here's our 90 degrees. We don't have anything over here in this particular drawing. We could draw another line over here and put a point. But this one just shows just the 90 degrees. Whenever we have something perpendicular over here, this is 90 degrees. This is also 90 degrees. We could put actually a little box over here to show that that's 90 degrees also. Remember, if you have an angle here, you can't make this box. If you can make this box, then you have a right angle. If you can't make the box, it's either going to be obtuse or an acute angle. So here's all the nomenclature that you're going to need from now through high school for your diagramming lines and rays and coming up with angles. And then there's a blank sheet on the back here that asks for the notation and asks for the diagram. Okay, go ahead and just copy these onto here, even the ones you don't know. But I'm surprised at how many you guys have learned in just a few weeks. You've learned almost all the notation that you need from now till high school. So I'm very proud of you. So just a very simple exercise. Go ahead and complete that before the end of the week.